Now it gives me absolutely huge pleasure to introduce our first speaker, and I want to introduce to you the known Professor Ervin Laszlo. Without Ervin, this institute would not exist. Ervin has been writing books for most of his life on the subjects that we're now addressing. He was predicting 30, 40 years ago some of the problems we're now facing. He was also coming up with amazing solutions. And I'm here because I read a lot of Ervin's books and I thought this is so important, this message. And I could not believe the luck, the opportunity of being able to work with him on this important work. So we all agree he's had a magnificent career. His biography is in the programme if you want to study it, but we're here because of the amazing achievements and the work of Ervin, and we're to welcome him up.
Thank you for these wonderful opening remarks and introductions. And I don't want to take much time because you've given me here very kindly my formal, okay, so 1 hour, keynote, few remarks, and then I'll come in again during today and tomorrow, and then have more of a discussion. I'll just have a few preliminary thoughts. First of all, thank you very much, Joe, for this wonderful overview and introduction, and also the institute for our work today. Also, the whole topic of education was sought up by my colleagues. I was happy to agree to it. But I'm a very curious person to talk about education, since at least in a formal sense I don't believe in it. I have an SKP from education. I didn't have formal education since I was 15. I mentioned it, Doctorat and so on, but most semi-honorary basis and so on. But I feel like really I could manage to maintain a level of creativity by not being brainwashed into the formal educational establishment. One of the greatest accomplishments, achievements of humanity is to have an educational system which has also become one of the greatest dangers of humanity. An educational system is there to educate people. Wants to educate people in on what they have been educated in. And they have been educated in, but the teachers have been educated in. So that's a very, very conservative line running through the formal educational system. And you're being taught things, you're told that this is so. There are very few things outside of formal logic and mathematics where you can say that this is so. Einstein said it very well. He said, things in science or in the world are certain to the extent that they are disconnected from reality, to the extent that they are part of reality, they are uncertain. We just have to do our best to try to grasp what there is. An educational system ought to be in service of finding out, of learning. And that doesn't mean education, it doesn't mean teaching. The entire term in the system of education, which was in the Middle Ages, in the modern age, particularly the last 200 years, of telling you what there is, this is so, and if you repeat it at the right time, you can believe it. And then you can go out and you can put it on your and then you are certified as somebody who knows. Now, this has some advantages at the time when everything is level and smooth and there is continuity. So what went on before still has its validity now. As I said, even though what we are really learning in what we're being educated in is about people who are educated in, have been educated and have been educated in. So this at one point was interesting, but in the long repetition, it could have got out of touch with the new world. So we need constantly to upgrade, to inquire, to become become ajourné, as they say, updated and level with what is happening in the world. And this at a time when there are such important changes, such fundamental changes occurring in the world, is so important. Then it's a very big danger to teach and to learn and to be educated in yesterday's knowledge. And we must not distinguish, as I suggested, between purely formal structures of thought, also to some extent historical structures, history of certain disciplines, and inquiry into what we can consider the nature of the world, the nature of the human being, of ourselves, the empirical disciplines. And empirical disciplines is, I think, where we as human beings can ask questions and hope that we get answers. But the answers are not necessarily those that were given before, not necessarily those that are given to us by our certified teachers. It's good, of course, to continue. I'm not against educational systems, obviously, but it can be deadening. It can deaden creativity. It can stop the free flow of ideas, unless it's very clear what the purpose is. I think the purpose is very clear, I'm speaking as a philosopher, is to understand, but not to stop at understanding, also to act on the basis of your understanding. And this calls constantly to update what you know. Constantly not looking at answers, but asking questions. Why have those answers been given? Somebody asked those questions sometimes. Sometimes those questions go back 2,500 years to the early Greeks or to Confucius. You know? And we've forgotten the questions. They're given the answers as though this is it. But those are people like us who dare to ask questions. And this is the new paradigm. Asking why, asking what, asking also how. The how is more likely, is the skill, you know, that is more likely to be given to us even in a formal sense in a school system, education system. But the great questions of why and even what have been filtered out of the formal education system. Nobody dares to ask those questions. And yet our understanding is growing precisely on this. Because at the same time that the education system in a formal sense is just repeating the past, at the same sense, at the same time, there is fantastic new knowledge coming, new information. It's coming about in many fields of inquiry. Because what I'm saying, and I see that some of you are nodding, you're not alone in agreeing, and I hope that you think that these are important points to make. A lot of people are coming up with this like this, and I think during the next 2 days, some of these initiatives we will reviewing that we will see how they're being responded to. But we have to remember that we are here to understand, to share our understanding, and to create new patterns of behavior, of action in this world. Why particularly, this was always the case, but particularly now, because unless we can update our behavior, we face, just to put it very simply in basic terms, we face the extinction of our species. And maybe as we go down, we face us, most higher species, we are perfectly capable of destroying most of life on this planet. So at this time, it's particularly paramount, particularly crucial importance, not to hesitate to ask questions. When you learn something, ask yourself, what is it in response to? What is it telling us about? Not just because it's a fact. There's a very good sense in which in science now we really taught that there are real facts. Of course, now we have in American politics something called alternative facts. This is a new sense of fact. In the real world, actually, a fact is difficult to define. but it's something that is your best estimate as a valid answer to what you're asking. And this could be different questions. But that isn't the case, of course, that there isn't a basis for knowledge. I want to mention the exact disciplines, mathematics, logic, and all the disciplines built on that. They give you the answers because they are posing very specific questions. And they do not deal with the actual, the empirical changing reality. They deal with eternal truths. And there are such, there are laws of nature which are given, and we can work with them and try to understand. But as soon as you move into what is happening in the world, then you have this uncertainty, this level of necessary creativity, of guessing, but informedness, in informing ourselves. So what I really want to say is this: I do not see legitimacy today for teaching. I see legitimacy for learning. Learning in a context in which you are helped by others who also want to learn, have been wanting to learn, have been trying to find out things, and want to help you learn. Accompanied learning, let's say. This is today reserved to some advanced schools at the PhD level, right, and research seminars. And it's fine. But it should be all along. It should be a lifelong learning. Because the 5-year-old would answer the same questions as you do when you are 18 or 20 or 21. But learning is a process, is an ongoing process. And if you can instill in a child the wish to learn, to find out what you are, find out who you are, and recognize that, okay, you get important information, but you have a role. You have a role in adding to that information. It's not a cut and dry. It's not here it is. You just learn it, memorize it. Try to remember it until you get a degree. That's the endemic effect of education. On the other hand, what Plato started with the academy, Aristotle started with the research, that's the kind of inquiry which we need to do all along, all through our life, from the beginning. Because we are living, as I said, at a critical time, a very survival of the state. And unless we recognize who we are and what the context is in which we are living now, what the alternatives are, what the dangers are, there's a very real danger, a risk that will just come up with cut and dried answers that we've been taught, and we say this is it. The first examples of this is fundamentalism, but there's fundamentalism not only in religion, it's also in science, where it shouldn't really be, and there is very much in education. And more elevated a school is, the more likely it is to be fundamentalist in that educational sense. If you go to a graduate school, to an Ivy university, you know, what you're being taught is the hallowed knowledge, after all, which your Harvard professor said this. And of course, in there, Harvard professors are among them, among a few people who are reading and ask fundamental questions, so it's good. But not to take the answers as simply that's what is, and no further questions. Lifelong learning and our task is of being a coach, an educator, a co-learner. As soon as you stop learning, you stop being a useful member of the conscious species. We are conscious, we are consciousness. We are got this far, we have created a world which is not also mentioned unsustainable, in the sense that it can't be prolonged for very long. And I think it might take a matter of years before such serious issues will come up that will make it very clear that unless positive change is happening, we're really an dangerous species. And this is happening very fast when you look at the financial system, the ecological system, the whole economy, even the business world. Prolong it in the future in the sense that trying to extrapolate from the present to the future and you see running into dead walls. You're running into unsustainable, critical instabilities. That's the context. So it's very important to think about this context, to realize it. And finally, I would like to say in a positive sense, using a term that Alfred Whitehead gave as the title of one of his books. He called it Adventures of Ideas. Learning is an adventure. It's an adventure of ideas. It's one of the most exciting adventures we have. So exciting in a double sense, because on the one hand there is more and more to get excited about, and there is more and more to get excited for. Because we did this difficult times. The new knowledge is coming online, becoming very relevant. We are trying here, in the framework of this small research institute that we will be growing, and these are partners in the coming years, into a global level institution. We are trying to raise questions and look for answers together and sharing those answers. Sharing, I didn't mention this yet, but I think it's very important. In whatever means we can, as long as what we share is not the gospel truths which you just have to go down and say this is it, but as long as you share what you believe is your own best insight, an ongoing part of the result of an ongoing inquiry in your heart. You can share that. If I found a meaningful answer of the questions that I raised, then I put it down on paper or in a computer as a notice among us. It so happens that my next book it should be published in September. The first copies will be available in the spring. Actually, I wanted to title it, but I didn't publish it. I wanted to title it, Who Are You and Why Are You Here? I suppose, who am I, why am I here? But sounded selfish. So now it's called Intelligence of the Cosmos, and this is the subtitle. But questions that I ask myself, and after I put some other books, I realized that I may have some answer that I want to share. Not because I think it's true, but I think it's somewhat truer than the alternative answers. So that's what I try to do, that's what I hope to do in the framework of this institute. Together, let's ask the questions. Let's see what conclusions we can come to, and let's share those. Then do a useful function in this world. Could be a critical, crucial function. And that's why we are here, individual and collective. Okay, that's all.